How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bodacious, Rant with Burn and Rye. Happy New Year to everyone as well. Hope everybody's year is starting off good. And, again, I hope everybody's kind of blocking out the news here and there, taking time for yourself. And what better way to do that than take a trip down to the cinema or the theater, as some people would call it. And usually January is very hit and miss, especially recent years. There have actually been some good movies coming out. This one is definitely no exception. I think it may be one of my top 10 movies of the year. Super early, I know. We have 11 months left in this year to go, but wow, I did not expect this sequel to do much better than the last one we got last summer. And if you haven't guessed already, we're talking about 28 years later, The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta this time, not Alex Garland or... oh my God, Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I was blanking a second, but Alex Garland did write this one again, and this time we're also joined by Jack O'Connell, who was in the last one at the very end, along with Sinners, Ralph Fiennes from the last movie, Erin Kellyman. She made a brief appearance in the last one. She was also in Falcon and Winter Soldier and what have you, yada yada yada. Even though I'm really excited and I wish we could dive deep into this movie, because this is one of those that's like, it really gets your mind going after you watch it. But we got to keep it spoiler free because I want you all to watch it. So does Burn. So yeah, if you did happen to like the movie, or just like tuning in with us and ready to join us for another year of entertainment, feel free to hit that like button, show your thumbs up, ring the bell for notifications, and of course subscribe. Thank you all for joining us and tuning in when you can. We do appreciate that. So, just a quick recap. 28 Years Later is basically a direct sequel to 28 Days Later that came out, like early 2000 or 2001, something like that. It literally has been almost 28 years. And this one, the last one, features a story about a kid named Spike who was trying to save his mom from this unknown sickness and travels to the mainland to find this doctor played by Ralph Fiennes. And at the end of it, I know this is a bit of a spoiler, but this is for the last one, not this one. He finds a group of interesting characters, tracksuit mob really, and that's led by Jack O'Connell's character. And this one basically takes place right after that, where Spike is, reluctantly going along with this group of characters, say you. And then we also have a side story with Ralph Fiennes' Dr. Kelson and his exploration into the infected and what exactly is the root cause of it in a way. And I really can't get into it because there's a lot of spoilers with that. So, like I said, I thought the last one was really good. To be honest, 28 Days Later was one of those movies. It was on my radar, but it's not like one of the best horror movies for me. I just thought it was always really good. It's a very good infected, I guess if you want to call it a zombie story, you can, but that's totally debatable, and I welcome that debate. But 28 Years Later really made me love this franchise and what it can do. And I think it also has to do with like franchises like The Last of Us and I Am Legend over the years that just kind of made me interested in that stuff. And this sequel, like I would definitely say it's a sequel in a way, just because 28 Years Later is like a legacy reboot in a way, legacy sequel. And this one, it doesn't have the same emotional impact as the last one did, which I believe I did go over in our review last year. But story-wise, oh my God, my mind is so blown. Burn, please, what did you think about this movie? I can't quantify my thoughts and my positivity behind this quite yet. But how did you feel about this, and did you have any expectations going into this one?
Oh man, I was very highly anticipating this movie based on how much I really loved the last movie. I thought Danny Boyle and Alex Garland really knocked it out of the park with their sort of, like you said, their reviving of this franchise. I thought that that movie just had so much energy and kineticism, and just like it made it into my top 10 movies of last year. Go check that video out if you want to see what the other ones were. But for those reasons, just because I felt like that movie really did everything right in terms of what a legacy sequel should do, basically. Bring me back to this world, give me some new ideas, and let's have fun with it. And to hear that there was a sequel only 6 months after, coming after that first. Technically third entry, but first entry of the 28 years sub franchise, I guess. To hear that there was one coming out very soon got me really, really excited. And the fact that this one was, not directed by Danny Boyle, like as you mentioned, directed by Nia DaCosta. It was going to be interesting to see how stylistically it sort of followed up to this last movie, because this last movie stylistically was very much akin to the very first movie, where it was much more handheld, famously shot on an iPhone. The way that it was edited together, like I described in that review, felt like it was like put together by people who were infected by the rage virus. So it was going to be interesting to see, like, how not a completely different creative team, because you mentioned Alex Garland did write the script for this one as well, but how this would work under basically a different director. And I thought for this story, for what the themes that this movie handles, and this being a much more, I feel like a much more intimate movie, a much more smaller in scale movie, I think Nia DaCosta knocked it completely out of the park. Just the way that it handles the themes of this, like, sort of almost battle of like science and religion, and almost like your soul and your morality, and like how your understanding or misunderstanding of one sort of affects your relationship with the other, or both of them. To get all that in what effectively is, a zombie movie, it left me floored, just like how the last movie, being sort of a coming of age story, you're digging into the relationships you have in terms of like your parentage, and like how you view them as a kid and how you view them as an adult. After having this sort of like growing up sequence, which occurs throughout the first movie, I think it's just such an interesting look at humanity, and like what it means in this movie, like not grow in a way of like understanding the world around you, and what lens you sort of like look through, whether it be something like a religion, whether it be more scientific. I thought the way that it handled all those things was very interesting, and just this movie is beautifully photographed. It lacks that sort of insanity and kineticism of the first movie, but I think it works for the story that they're telling here, which is a little bit more introspective. And I think the way that Nia DaCosta and her sort of directorial tendencies, for people who've seen movies like Candyman or Hedda that came out last year, she has a more sort of dreamlike quality to the way that she directs. And I think the way that she tells this story, it was handled really, really well. And Alex Garland's script is just incredible. I think he's one of my favorite script writers of this generation of storytellers. I've always been interested in the way that he sort of dives when you think he's gonna dip, when he like he just completely gives you these like very interesting sort of twists and turns that you wouldn't normally expect for something a little bit more conventional, that you would get. Like, seeing this movie, if I were to read it on paper, I'd be like, this is absolutely insane. I don't know how this is gonna work on the big screen, just because the directions it goes, much like the last movie, took me completely off guard. But once I was in the ride, this movie just had a complete hold over me, much like the last one did.
Yeah, Bern, you literally took all the words out of my mouth and all the things I was going to talk about. So thank you for that. I'm just kidding. I did. I'm glad you did point out the way they were shot. I didn't really think about it until you brought up. I'm like, oh yeah, they were like, the last one was very much like the original 28 Days Later. But that's just Boyle's style with this franchise. But I like Nia DaCosta's better. Like, if you want more of like a cinematic, like a more traditional thing, like a traditional way of like a movie and stuff, and how that's directed and whatnot, I think this will be a little bit better for some of those who maybe don't like the whole handy cam feel. But I just love that these two have really expanded upon the lore of, is the infection, like where does this infection go? How much farther can we evolve this, and can we? I mean, again, it's just crazy what they did with it. There were some things, yeah, I definitely was taken by surprise on some of the directions they took, especially in the last one. So I'm glad that they're really having fun with this. And so far, Spike is definitely the anchor of these stories, like the themes behind like the coming of age, and like you said, morality, and almost kind of like oh my god, what's that? It's like the parent. It's like parentage versus like how it takes a village to raise someone, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like the sort of nature versus nurture type
Nature
of
versus
thing.
nurture. Thank you. I'm sorry, I was blanking on that. But yeah, it also kind of brings that argument literally in a way, because it's this entire, both movies take place within nature. So it's still got some jump scares to it, but I think that's also why I like the last two, is they're not trying to freak you out with scares and stuff, kind of like the original, like other traditional zombie movies or anything are. So I really do appreciate it's more about the story and survival, very much like The Last of Us and stuff like that. So all I can say is you definitely don't want to miss the end. Definitely don't try not to go to the bathroom around that time. That's the only thing I can say, because it's a very big thing. I'm definitely looking forward to the next one after this. Needless to say, with everything we've talked about, all the stuff Burn said, and again, I'm so excited with this movie. I want to tell you all everything, but I can't. So I'm going to give this movie a hard 5 out of 5. Highly recommend it. Definitely will say you should watch the first one, the 28 Days Later, and then 28 Years Later from last year, just because 28 Weeks Later with Jeremy Renner and Rose Byrne, it's not a bad one, but it's they almost Byrne and I have talked about it before, where it's almost just bypass that. It's definitely retcon that one. So yeah, I can't recommend it. Whether it be Dolby, regular, whatever, go see this movie. Like, if there's any movie in January I have to pick, this is going to be the one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't praise this movie enough. Nia DaCosta did such an incredible job at directing this. Again, Alex Garland did a great job at writing this. Jack O'Connell, if you think if he's gonna do just Remick again, from Sinners last year, that's not the case. He's equally as terrifying, but in a different sense. And the way that he can play evil in that movie and do something completely different in this movie while being the villain in both, it's just, it makes a lot of really interesting choices. And again, the script really backs that up, and I think he does a really good job. And Alfie Williams is a lot of like you said, he's the anchor of these movies. So he, even though this one isn't really as much his story as it is Dr. Kelson's and Jimmy's, he's sort of the lens that you see this world through, and I think he does a really good job of doing that. And I just got to give a shout out to Shia Lewis Perry, who plays Samson. We get a lot from him. He's much more than just a swinging what. We'll just say that this time around. But the way that this story handles his character and the performance that he gives, I thought it was really, really good. And like a lot of other things in this movie, just took me completely by surprise. So yeah, well, again, while it didn't have that sort of faux amateurish, erratic, almost like a shoot from the hip quality that the first movie had, and that I really enjoyed. What I got from this movie was something else, something a little bit more intimate, something a little bit more heady, and I again took me completely by surprise. And the way that these two movies build up to these sort of unconventional climaxes that leave me in the theater just being completely floored. It's just, to get that 6 months apart just feels like an absolute treat. So I can't recommend this movie highly enough. And for me, this one is also going to be a 5 out of 5 as well. Really excited for whatever they do with the next one. I'm glad that they announced that they are going to do it, because that was sort of a little bit up in the air. But whatever this creative team decides to do, whether it be Alex Garland and Danny Boyle, Alex Garland and Nia DaCosta, I'm just completely interested in the stories that they have to tell in this world and the themes that they have to that they want to sort of tackle. So I'm along for the ride. They've got me. These two movies have been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to whatever comes next.
I'm right with you, Bern. I can't wait to. I definitely want to see this again. So that's probably on my calendar. The next few days, just gonna rewatch this in theaters. But yeah, 5 out of 5 for both me and Bern for 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. So yeah, for those of you who did happen to watch it, feel free to let us know in the comments what you really liked about it. No spoilers, of course. Until next time, as always, everyone, stay bodacious and just keep on ranting for us.
Absolutely, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.